Welcome to the K-12 Deep Dive. Thank you for joining us today. I'm joined by my two colleagues, and my name is Jean Jarek. I'm a solutions engineer here at D2L, and part of my role is to take you on a Brightspace tour. Prior to this position, I spent 10 years in the classroom as a K-12 educator using Brightspace, where I saw the value of this tool on a day-to-day basis and the difference it could make for teaching and learning.
Hi, everyone. My name is Annika Moline, and I actually used to be a client of D2L. I am very familiar with IT background. I come from an IT background and have worked in the industry for 20 some years now. And I am here now as a manager of the solution engineering team.
And hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Emma Zone, and I serve as the Senior Director of Academic Affairs here at D2L. My 25-year-long career has spanned lots of different places, all levels, beginning as a high school English teacher and curriculum coordinator at a large public school in the Chicago suburbs, and eventually moving into administrative roles as a vice president and vice provost at the university level. And I'm going to introduce you to some main themes we're seeing in the K-12 space before turning it over to Annika and Jean for our deep dive. So one of the best parts of my role here at D2L is that I get to spend time with educators from all over the world within the K-12 space and beyond. And we're hearing about many of the challenges facing educators today, including very full plates that are leading to overwhelm, issues with chronic absenteeism and getting students to show up to the classroom, and the need for teachers to have meaningful access to professional learning that aligns with their professional development goals. We've also heard concerns about dwindling funds and how that relates to the need around relied upon resources, leaving many teachers and administrators feeling like they have to do more with less. The educators I'm hearing from are all in when it comes to personalizing learning, but they're needing tools to allow them to optimize the learning experience for their students. They want to be able to create content that's engaging and meaningful, but they want to be able to do that in a way that's quick and easy. We also know that many of you are interested in the data story, understanding just-in-time data to adjust teaching and curricular decisions to help with student success, but also longitudinal data to really understand the portrait of a graduate and the skills that they have mastered. So in this session, you will get a deep dive from Annika and Jean, and I know you will be just as excited as I am to learn more about these new features and offerings. My brain is already brimming with lots of great ideas and how I could have used these in my own teaching, and I know yours will as well. So with that, I will turn it back over to Annika and Jean to take you on a deep dive.
Thanks, Emma. And I'm going to walk you through our agenda today. So part one, we really want to show you maximizing the end user experience in Brightspace by centralizing those course items into one place, forming your hub of learning. Next, let's talk about making an impact by creating engaging learning moments that inspire students and save teachers time. Lastly, we'll discuss how to optimize your time with meaningful data, plus a brand new and exciting integration built to save teachers time. And then at the very end, we'll tease you with a couple of new things that are coming out specifically with K-12 educators in mind. So let's jump right in. When we talk to clients, they often ask about the idea of centralizing those important learning items so that learners can start their day in Brightspace and stay within the walls of Brightspace to navigate to all of their learning materials all from one spot. And with Brightspace, you can do just that. Not only can you personalize the course homepage and experience for learners, but you can also use our content tool as a one-stop shop for all of those learning materials. We've made some great improvements, making it easier to navigate and find such items.
Thanks, Annika. I'm really excited to share how a few small changes can make a big impact for your end user experience. Let's look at a few personas. I'll start with the learner homepage experience. We know that learners can be easily frustrated, especially those who have experienced a little bit of that technology burnout. So why not leverage your Brightspace homepage to add favorite external links, such as Khan Academy or websites that they frequently are visiting? And why not personalize using replace strings? This is a small change in Brightspace that can make a huge difference for your end user. So logging in as a learner and being greeted by name, for example, can increase engagement. I want to recommend leveraging a tool like Announcements to give some instructions for those learners, some reminders of how to best use the platform and make it easy. And why not throw a little fun in with something like the awards leaderboard? Let's switch gears and look at how you might change your one-stop shop, your hub of learning for a teacher lens. A teacher may want a more mature experience. And of course, this more mature experience might also be relevant to those secondary students of yours. You can see a difference in the top is that there's text-based navigation items rather than those icon-based navigation items. We've also adjusted and reconfigured the widgets on this page so it surfaces the tools that matter most to that teacher, giving them the hub of learning experience as well. You'll notice that in the top here, a teacher can easily access professional development tools. I know several of our clients are using Brightspace for both student learning as well as PD. So why not make those tools readily available for your staff? It's also, of course, very important to make things like Quick Eval available for your teachers so that they can log in and immediately be greeted with any assessments they need to take care of. Having functionality like the calendar helps teachers stay on track and really unifies that learning experience for them, as well as helps them stay on track in the instructor lens. I also wanted to call out that some of our users in the last couple of years have been leveraging a fun widget called Create a New Course. So from this page, a teacher can be empowered to help students enroll in a group for a sports team that they might be coaching, or maybe it's a group or an extracurricular activity, and that teacher wants to own a shell and create a shell, a hub of learning without relying on the administrator. Now, you may have noticed that on my left-hand side, I have this continuous professional development tool. And what this is going to allow you to do is enable your teachers to track their progress against learning targets directly from the Brightspace homepage. So it's really a hub for them, a one-stop shop where they can not only celebrate their success, but do some meaningful reflections. Let's take a look here. So when I enter my continuous professional development tool, I can actually see the targets that I've set with my mentor. Whether these are structured or unstructured, I can combine my targets to meet overall progress towards my annual learning goal. So here, for example, you'll see that I've got a few records already captured in this space towards some goals that I've set with my principal, my mentor, who's helping me grow in my practice. I can add a new record from this space, and it doesn't have to be something that occurred within Brightspace, but of course it can be if you prefer. So let's say I wanted to add something related to leadership. And if this was structured, like a conference, for example, I could add this method of learning directly as my record. I could even upload some evidence, but most importantly, I can go in here and reflect on that learning and understand what it was about that helps improve my teaching practice. How can I bring this learning back and support my colleagues in their work? And most importantly, what am I going to do differently moving forward after having participated in this learning experience? So when I save this record of learning, it's going to update my targets. And of course, when I refer back to my homepage, I'll immediately be greeted with this view. So really giving me some empowerment as a teacher to engage in the professional learning opportunities that make most sense to me. Let's switch gears and take a look at the administrator experience. The tools that are important to administrator are not going to be the same tools that your learners and your teachers need access to. Brightspace admins or principals, they need access to quick video tutorials perhaps, or Brightspace help, or maybe they want to track progress of their teachers directly from this space. So you can really personalize and create a hub for those roles as well. So when they log into their Brightspace one-stop shop, they're greeted with an experience that supports them in their day-to-day tasks. So for example, Role Switch is one of our most popular features for administrators because they really want to be able to go in and see what a teacher or a student is seeing within the platform. And why not take advantage of customizing widgets so that you can surface those tools that they access most frequently right here on the homepage. So with that, I hope you've had a taste of some of the ways that we can help make a small impact with adjusting that homepage experience and creating a hub of learning directly within Brightspace. Oh, I think you're actually on mute.
Thank you. Great stuff there, Jean. Thank you so much for that. We're going to move on to part 2, which is all about making an impact. So the creation experience, it's a very important part of the teaching and learning avenue. Clients tell us that they love Brightspace because we allow them to create interactive lessons and pages, build authentic assessments, and really engage learners. So now let's explore some of the ways that Brightspace makes this even easier for teachers to create these inspiring learning moments.
Thanks, Annika. I'm most excited to share this section today. Making an impact is everything from the little things to the big things that I'll show you in just a few moments. When I'm talking about the little things, I'm referring to a recent update that we're about to receive, allowing teachers, based on the asks of you, our clients, that they're able to adjust the colors of these folders on the left. And maybe you'd like to do this because you're color coding work in class, so it's going to support that blended learning lens. Or maybe, for example, your remedial content units might be colored in a different color folder than your extended learning opportunities. So soon this functionality will be available to your educators, giving them even more ability to personalize, customize, and make an impact in the way that matters most to them. Now, you might remember that last year we explored an introduction that was also based on our most frequent asks from clients, inline assessment view. So here, as a teacher, I now log into my Brightspace one-stop shop. Right from content, I can now not only add an assignment or create a new assessment, be that a quiz or discussion, but I can also see what that activity is and track learning completion against that, all from the same place. So really saving time for teachers, making an impact on their daily workflows. You can see that I can go directly to an evaluation, I can review a grade, or I can take note of a student who's not yet submitted that item without ever having to travel outside my one-stop shop content area. We also made huge improvements to the interface we use for assessments. So for example, you'll see here that I'm creating a new discussion. I met with a very clean experience, existing only of a title, the Brightspace editor box, and of course, additional controls on the right. We've used something called progressive disclosure so that we can hide all that advanced functionality behind these arrows while still providing teachers access to that. And the reason for this is we wanted to make it simple, easy, and user-friendly to create those assessments. You'll notice that the same interface is used when creating an assignment. So you'll see no difference between assignments and discussions, which is a huge improvement, a little thing that goes a long way to make an impact for teachers so that they can do the work that matters most, engage with students and create those meaningful assessments. Finally, you'll also notice that now creating a quiz looks very similar. We have that same consistent experience so that educators can do what matters most, teach. Another huge improvement that's been celebrated year after year, these last 2 years, is the addition of Creator Plus to our content experience area. So where we've always had the ability to create beautiful content within Brightspace, we really broke down barriers for educators in enabling anyone to be a content creator and create active learning experiences for their students. So in this example, you'll see that I've uplifted a lesson so that it is engaging for students, allowing them to absorb not only the main idea, but also the supporting details, while including the ability to make content more digestible, easily comparing different topics, and then giving students the ability to learn a little more with interactives like a fully accessible hotspot, and then testing their knowledge with a gamified activity like drag and drop or sequencing, for example. So you'll see that, of course, this learning experience is much more valuable than just scrolling through a page. It's more digestible, it's more fun, it's more engaging, and we know that student engagement is critical to student success. Now, the only thing that we heard back regarding Creator Plus was that educators wish there was a way that we could save them more time. Yes, they love creating these experiences. It's creative for them, it's engaging for their students, but sometimes it can be time consuming. And this is where Lumi comes into play. So I'd love to show you Lumi practices and how I can take this page of content. You can see I have some video and a lot of text, but that hasn't quite been uplifted yet. I can simply leverage Lumi practices to help me create those interactives. So not only am I going to be able to make an impact on student learning, but this tool is going to make an impact for your educators by enabling them to simply leverage Lumi to support creation of those practices. Let's take a look. Using the same workflows that I'm already comfortable with, I can simply go into my practice area and choose a question such as true or false. Now I can either generate or do this manually. And of course, I'm going to have Lumi practices help me out here. And you'll notice the content that it's generating from, it's giving me this reminder. This is my content. I curated this. I want my learners to be assessed on the materials that I've created for them. And Lumi is going to retain that human control. So as I generate this question, You'll remember there was a video in that space. Annika, would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that even videos, when there is a transcription accommodating that video, are going to be useful in this AI practice here.
Amazing. So again, that transcript is in there. That means Lumi can go in and draw on that material as well to create this question. You'll notice that I do have a lovely question here waiting for me. As the educator, I still have a lot of control. I can discard, I can edit, or I can say, that's not exactly what I was looking for, and ask Lumi Practice to regenerate that. In this case, I like it, so I'll go ahead and insert that. And once I save and close, you'll notice that this is going to be added directly to that page right within my content. So again, making a powerful impact on educators' workflows and also giving students that meaningful interactive space to test their knowledge as they're working through course materials and support those best practices in assessment as learning. We've also added similar functionality to the question library. So Lumi Question is going to also enable you to save a lot of time when generating questions for, say, that Unit 1 assignment. Let's say as a teacher, I've completed some course materials in Unit 1, I've made a few beautiful practice questions, and now I'm starting to generate some quiz questions for my upcoming assessment. I can go into this space and draw again from that course content, so still retaining full human control. This is not going to take me on a ride outside the internet. I'm going to choose the exact unit that I want material to come from. I can go through these items and select what it is I'd like a question to be developed from. And best of all, you might notice here that I have standards attached to this learning item. This means that Lumi Quiz is going to automatically generate a question that's linked to this, allowing me to easily have those learning outcomes attached to the assessment. Here I'm going to be able to toggle and decide the number of questions I wish Lumi Quiz to create for me, and even the question type. So let's stick with true or false for now. A huge value feature of this as an educator and wearing my teacher hat is the ability to leverage Bloom's taxonomy to help me build those meaningful assessment questions. So obviously true or false is relying on those retention skills. So I can choose, do I want them to apply, understand, or remember? And then I can actually have Lumi Quiz generate my question for me using Bloom's taxonomy, which is an incredible time saver for teachers, but is also going to allow you to easily create more meaningful assessments. So you see, I now have 3 examples here in front of me. I don't need to toggle back and forth from this interface. Sticking to our theme of retaining control, I am the teacher. I have gut instinct here on my learners, and I know what's going to resonate and what's not. I can determine whether I like this question or not. So in this case, let's go ahead and say, this looks good. That is a relevant question. If I wanted to make any adjustments, I could add additional context here. Keep this after I've made my edit. And then finally, maybe we don't need a 3rd question in this space. We've got 2 great questions to assess that learning. So I'll discard this final one. You'll notice that of my 3 questions, my 2 that I have decided to keep are retained here. I'm going to save that to my section. You can see here that I'm able to align each question to those standards. So that's going to surface for me later in my mastery review so I can track this learning. And when I save this, best of all perhaps, is that when it finally comes time to pull these questions into my Unit 1 quiz, I can see which of these were created just by a human. You'll notice here, your friend, there's no stars, there's no star with a person. This is indicating I made this by hand, but those questions that were created by AI have icons available beside them so I can easily recall the information and remember that AI supported this. And from a district perspective, this data is going to be super valuable to you down the line, so you can see how this is working for you and what impact it really is making on your educators. Who's using it? How are the questions looking, and how is it working for you? Finally, we also have Lumi Idea. So we're going to have the additional support now of Lumi creating ideas for us with assignment and discussion creation. Let's take a look at how easy it is. You'll notice that I was in my one-stop shop area. So again, this is drawing on my content from my unit. And now I'm going to go ahead and select discussion. Sometimes it's difficult to think back on all the content you included in your unit to come up with a great idea for discussion. So this is where Lumi Idea can really support those teachers in the time-saving workflows. So again, I can choose a number of ideas. Let's stick with 3 for consistency. And Bloom's is available for us here as well. So let's leverage some of those higher order thinking skills now and ask students to evaluate some of the learning they've done in Unit 1. I can either include all activities in that unit or select some individual activities. Let's include everything in Unit 1 and see what Lumi Ideas comes up with for us.
And a really important factor here, just to remind our audience, all of Brightspace AI principles rely on not using any of this data outside of the Brightspace existence. As Jean has already mentioned, everything stays within your Brightspace course. It is not used to train those large language models or anything like that.
Very good point. And we can't make it enough because we've been so intentional in that design. So I now have 3 amazing suggestions for discussion prompts, leveraging that Bloom's taxonomy scale. And we're going to dive into that higher order thinking matrix. And we'll ask students to evaluate. And when I insert this, I now have my discussion idea, and I can determine what to call it and how it's going to be generated within my gradebook. Now, assignments offers the same functionality. Lumi Idea is equally available to you in assignments from the same process, but because it looks so similar, we won't show you that as well today. But it is just as simple and easy to use and really helps save teachers time and makes a huge impact for students. So hopefully you're able to see how over the last 2 years, we've added functionality and how now we're able to make an even bigger impact by saving teachers time and creating engaging workflows for students.
We're here for those creators, aren't we, Jean?
Oh, yeah.
Moving on to part 3, let's talk about some data. Here we are today on part 3 of today's agenda topic, data and meaningful integrations. So in recent years, we've seen an increasing desire in K-12 education to assess learning using a more holistic approach. How are you using data and assessments to maximize learning potential? So we really want to dial into data and explore ways that you can gain insight into achievement across your district with data found in Brightspace for both your learners of the K-12 student interface, as well as sometimes those professional development users that you might be using our platform for.
Exactly. Data can be one of the most important tools that we have as educators to reflect and adjust our practice to make the most sense for our students. So let's take a look. I'll start with a quick reminder. I talked about those outcomes, those learning outcomes, curriculum standards, and how we want to be able to track student achievement against those standards. So many of you were already using Master Review, which allows you to, at the course level, explore how students are achieving against each standard. And it tells us a story. So for example, you can see my achievement scale is set for colors just for ease of use here. But in the first one, we're noticing that half the class is in that green zone. That's that meeting expectation. They're meeting that learning outcome. And then the other half of the class is broken up into pretty even groups of either not meeting them, approaching, or somewhere in between. But at the end, the final outcome has just 2 colors, only orange and only green. So that tells me as an educator that I am missing the mark somewhere because the way that I am assessing learning against this outcome is resulting in a portion of my class either not meeting it or exceeding it. So something that I am doing here needs to be reevaluated. Now, new and exciting to us is the ability to track learning outcomes at the program level. So Dr. Zone mentioned in her introduction that many clients are moving to this holistic approach of Portrait of a Graduate or Pathways to Success, where they're really looking at student achievement towards outcomes over the course of their high school career, for example. You're looking at a writing across the curriculum example, but this should just as easily be all of the program outcomes that you have related to measuring success along that path to Portrait of a Graduate or Pathways to Success here. And what it's allowing you to do is draw across all your different schools, all your different courses, and see where students are achieving, what percentage of students are meeting that expectation, and what percentage of students are not. And from there, we can make informed decisions about curricula. So instead of having an idea where we're hoping that students are meeting these, we're maybe observing it, maybe we're anecdotally monitoring this, we can now actually embed child outcomes from this program into our courses and create rich visualizations automatically. So again, I'm not creating this by hand. Brightspace is going to build this visualization based on achievement against the program throughout the course. So it's really exciting, especially from that administrative perspective. We now have this tool at our fingertips to measure student success and make curricular decisions based on that data. Speaking of data, we also have Analytics Builder. This is a tool that's going to enable you to create rich visualizations using all of the data from your data hub in Brightspace. In this example, I'm looking at professional development. So you saw earlier, we gave the example of a teacher tracking their own progress, their own professional development. But in this example, we're looking at an administrator viewing data created by the district, using visualizations created by the district using your own data, where they're actually tracking that teacher achievement. So some of the things that are valuable about this tool, this could just as easily be your learner data. You have the flexibility to determine what data you care about, how you want to compare that data, and what type of visualizations you'd like to create with that data. More importantly, you can just in time, it's automatically going to be updated once we have these filters built out. You can dial into an individual space within a dashboard here and change the visualization. So say I'm looking at this individual learner, for example. I can now change the view with just one click. The data changes, the visualization changes, and it really allows me the flexibility to explore visualizations at the click of a mouse. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to this main screen and look at all my learners for a moment and tell you another few major value points to exploring Analytics Builder. So for example, administrators are really busy, and of course we care about progress that teachers are making, we care about progress that students are making, but we don't have time to every day go into this dashboard. That is where creating alerts comes in really handy. So if you wanted to create alert on a specific area where you need to know, say you're caring a lot about course completion progress. If you need to see that as soon as something falls below a certain threshold, you can actually make an alert that's going to automate this for you so that you get that information into your email inbox without ever having to come back in here. So it really gives you the flexibility to see the data when you need to see it and not miss out on any of those interventions. Another really helpful tool using Analytics Builder is the ability to make a bookmark. Not everybody needs to see the same data. If this was an example of student learning, a guidance counselor needs to see several students across different courses, whereas a principal might need to see just students from one school. So you can actually make adjustments to the filters and then bookmark them so that depending on your role, the data is personalized to your experience when you circle back to it. So really giving you the flexibility you need, but also it's time saving. We have some features here that are really going to enable you to receive the right data at the right time. Speaking of data, we've made some huge improvements to the bidirectional data exchange with PowerSchool. I know how significant this has been to our K-12 clients, and so I'm really excited to be able to share with you today that we have, through the help of our partnership with GG4All, created a two-way data exchange where we can achieve both rostering and grades passback. So let's take a quick look. I'm logged in here in my Brightspace grades book. So this is an art course, and you may see we have a few students here in the bottom left. For simplicity's sake, we've left just 2 grades. So you'll see that Laura Atwood in the top has a grade on the History of Impressionism assignment of 7 out of 10, and Jennifer Ball has a score of 8 out of 10. So as a teacher, I used to have to come into Brightspace, go in the grade book, enter my grade, but then also use PowerTeacher Pro separately. So it really was kind of duplicating efforts. With this new integration, we're going to be able to eliminate that duplication of efforts and really save teachers time. So you'll notice that if I go into my History of Impressionism assignment here, I'm calling out again that so we have these 2 grades. They match the PowerTeacher Pro grade. So Laura has a 7 and Jennifer has an 8. Now, if I wanted to go back in and say Laura may have completed some extra credit. So this 7 is now going to be an 8 because she's increased her grade. I want that to be reflected in PowerTeacher Pro. So I can make that grade change in my gradebook, save it, and then I can select export to SIS. So of course, SIS being Student Information System, and in this case, we're looking at PowerSchool. And once I am going to do that, It's going to allow me to simply export this into my PowerTeacher Pro gradebook. So when I refresh PowerTeacher Pro in just a moment, you'll notice that Laura's score is going to turn from a 7 to an 8. So we're so excited to finally be able to show you this, to share with you the ability to eliminate that duplication of efforts, because of course we know teachers don't want to maintain their data in 2 places.
And just a shout out to no more gradebook double entry. Yay.
Absolutely. All the customers that we have had this conversation with are just as excited as that, Annika, if not more. And with that, I'd actually like to pass the baton over to my colleague, Annika, to share some exciting features that are upcoming with us.
Yeah, we're going to leave you here with a teaser of a couple of upcoming features that we're really proud of, particularly for the K-12 segment. So portfolio enhancement. Portfolio is getting a little love, and not too soon in the future. Not too far in the future. There's going to be the ability of going into the assignment interface and actually pushing an assignment, including the submissions, the grade, and the feedback all the way over into the learner's portfolio. This is a big ask by our clients, and it's coming soon.
Yes, absolutely.
And next, we're going to be focusing on attaching those rubrics to written responses. That's coming around the September timeframe. So big ask by clients, and it's coming. And then another great feature is release conditions are going to get some love because of our use of the outcomes tool. It's time that we also use those in our release conditions tool. So we're going to introduce the new overall level of achievement in outcomes in a release condition fashion coming soon.
Thanks for sharing that. I'm so excited about that from the educator lens because, previously I would have to have a grade score. Like if the student achieves less than 65%, then they get this. But we're transitioning to that more holistic view of assessment. And so it really makes sense that based on overall outcome achievement, we can also release content to learners.
Great ad there, Jean. You're absolutely right. And with that, we're going to close out our session today, and we hope to see you around Fusion. And thank you for joining us.